All right, guys, we are back with another episode of My Conversation Corner. This time, we're having an interview with my brother. I'm actually bringing in all the people who have made me who I am so that you guys can see the product of their work. But also, I want them to give them the opportunity to talk about things that happened in their lives that made them the people that they are today and give the story behind what they've done and all the struggle that come along with it. So let's get into it. A part of the thing that we talked about earlier is that we wanted to get into your life as a brother and all the things that come along with it because I really admire how you were as a brother to me because a lot of people didn't have that opportunity. So let's get into that. Where does it all start for you?
Wow. So let's start with how I came into this world because that's a part of my mindset around being a brother to you. My mother, when she transitioned, moving from the South Hill, Virginia to the DC, Maryland area, met my biological father. Um, but they had a tough relationship. When I say tough, my mother was under the understanding that my biological father was single and he wasn't. He was married with two kids. So I came into this world, my mother's oldest child, firstborn, but my biological father's third child. So I'm his baby and her oldest. So I came into this world being an only child for my mom, but being the third child for my biological father. But getting to know my younger brother, my older brother and older sister on that side, was kind of a, every weekend kind of thing. Didn't build a strong relationship with them early. And then that became a lot of turmoil of me going back and forth. And then I didn't get to see him for years. So it was just me and my mother for a while, very good long period of time. I pretty much lived, oh gosh, most of my early childhood, I would say it was about a third or fourth grade time frame as an only child. Um, Also the oldest grandchild. So I got all the spoils early, being the only one, right? And then my mother married my stepfather, which is your dad, and he had three children prior in a prior marriage. But of course, they were much closer to adulthood or in adulthood when I met them. So instantly, I became the baby again. So now my stepfather's inheriting me in a marriage, but he's pretty much raised his boys. But early in the marriage, you came along. So in my lifetime, I've gotten the opportunity to be the baby, the only child, the oldest, jammed into the middle child, and then finally getting to be a big brother to someone else. So I had a lot of experience from the challenges of trying to communicate to brothers that, from a distance, were much older than me. Most of my childhood, the male figures in my life were my grandfather, my uncles. So um, I had a lot to give and pass on to someone at a young age and take care of. Plus, I was thrown into a 9-year difference between the two of us. Right. So, every time I was that child, that every time I had to go outside, I had to take you with me. So you develop um, unconsciously a protective mindset because you're now responsible for someone at a very young age. Just simply being at the basketball court, I gotta watch you and play basketball. Or you have a question on how to play on something on a playground, and I gotta be there to do those things. So I developed a protective mindset, along with also the friends that I played with having younger brothers. Most of them were the younger brother, and then a few of them had a young brother too. They kind of looked out for you as well. So we all had this kind of look out for you kind of mindset. And that carried over into everything I did. It became, you know, uh, um, um, a responsibility, so to speak. So it kind of started with that. And then as you became older and got more into different things. I then started to pour in my competitive spirit into you. So that became a tug of war of trying to, I know I see things on social media all the time of how big brothers are with little brothers, and I embodied all of those things. I was tough on you. I pushed you. I didn't want you to grow up not having the things, the some people try to, shelter you from certain stuff. I didn't want to shelter you from anything because that was what my uncle taught me. Considering he smoked, he drank, he was a mechanic, he did all of these things in the street. But there were things that he didn't hide from me, so I never was curious about him. I wasn't curious about that life because I watched it. I didn't care about smoking weed growing up. My uncle smoked all the time. I didn't care about guns, but he had a competitive spirit. He played cards with his boys. He kept a tight network of group. He was a hustler. There are a lot of things that you can learn even out of the negative perception people have of people. And I wanted to give you that. I didn't want you to grow up because of where we lived. It wasn't always a violent area anymore. Mom moved us away from all of that. But there are lessons in toughness and competitive drive that come with some of those hard times that I didn't want you to miss out on simply because they weren't around you. So it kind of molded my mindset around being your big brother. And then I was having good success at some of the things I was doing, playing basketball, being one of them, maintaining a good grade level. So it also came with some responsibility of setting a standard, so to speak, of what was required of you, what you should strive for. So that kind of was the basis of what type of brother I wanted to be because I it's a cliche that a lot of big brothers don't always think that little brothers are paying attention or looking up to them, but I knew it was possible because even some of my friends, I looked up to their big brothers, or we respected their big brothers a certain way, or even in my family, how I looked at my step brothers or my half brother and sister. I knew that if I saw that, then watching you copy things that I did or being into trying to be competitive with me with things that I was doing, I knew there had to be some level of a watchful eye on me. So I had to be careful of what I said and what I did and how hard I pushed, even though I pushed you to the limits and often, but I wanted to see what that breaking point was because I would rather that breaking point happen in house and we have an opportunity for you to hone in your skills than for it to happen somewhere else and it break you and change your direction of your life. So, yeah.
I can relate with that. That's really how I operate because you did say all the things when it comes to um, how I operated and how I responded to things, and I think you did a great job because I was able to do certain things that I didn't even know I was capable of because you saw it before I saw it.
Mm.
And I always go back to incidences where we were out when I was older and in college, and we're out. You trying to teach me how to talk to girls and walk up to them, and my mind always goes back to that because we would do that, and it would be like, "Hey B, we've been talking about this for a minute. Go get it. Do your thing." And
Yeah.
I can put out two or three instances where I was like, I really did that. Like I was out here.
Well, the funny thing is you pinpoint those things because you were older, but it started way before that. I mean, you even questioned the sport you wanted to choose to play. You were a lot taller kid. I mean, of course, you're 6'7" now, but that was always the case. You were one of the tallest kids at every point in your life. And your first sport that you wanted to play was soccer. Now, we are a basketball family. I played soccer when I was younger, but it wasn't like a passion. It was just one of those things that mom put me in. I played, I was okay with it, but it was no passion. We lived in Montgomery County at the time, and that was just the top sport out there. It wasn't basketball and football. And you wanted to play soccer, but you kind of were like feeling in some kind of way, like I kind of want to do this, but I don't want to kind of miss out on playing basketball. And I was like, nah, if that's what you are wanting to explore, then let's do that. And to support that, I went downtown and went through the classes to become a coach. and the team that you on, I asked if I could be his assistant coach. So he
See,
sponsored me for doing so.
tell me
And
about that, because I had no clue that you had to do that to do what you. I just thought you just pulled up to coach and was like, "Let's do it."
nope.
I need that story. Let's go. Let's do it.
So what happened was you came in and it was after dinner actually. And the mom was talking about putting you into a sport. And later after they were discussing, you came to me and was like, some of your friends were playing soccer and you wanted to play soccer. And I'm looking at you like, well, why don't you tell mom? Well, mom and dad said they were gonna put me into basketball. I was like, look, we went and talked to mom. I was like, soccer's fine, okay, cool. So they signed you up for soccer, and I told you I'd be there. So, and I think in your head you thought of me being there just meant like I'd be at practices, I'd be at games and all of that. But when I said I was gonna be there, like I was like, nah, I'm gonna get involved. I won't run these hills with you. I'm gonna push you and all of that. And I, mind you, I'm in high school. I'm playing basketball at Largo High School. So I went to the coach and I was like, well, what do I need to do to be like on the sideline, be assistant coach because he didn't have one. So he gave me the information. He told me where to go to the classes. He told me what I needed to do to register. He told me what I didn't need to do to be an official person that could coach in PG County in the Boys and Girls Club system. So I told mom, she dropped me off every time I needed to go, whatever I needed to do. I came back official. So me being on that sideline was official. And I wanted to do it that way because um, I wanted to be, how can I say, I wanted to be in a position where when I spoke to the kids and the parents, I had the right to.
The authority
I
to.
earned the right to. I didn't want to just be because you got to remember these are mom and dads of I think mine when you might have been gosh I don't know how old you would have been, maybe 8.
Eight
I don't know,
five.
might have been 8 or 9 in that time. I mean, I don't even know if you were that old, but these parents were really passionate. And I was a 16, 17-year-old kid, These parents don't want to listen to me until they know, no, he's the assistant coach and he did what he was supposed to do to become assistant coach. So I wanted to do it the right way. And I think you played maybe 2 or 3 years. And I was right there the whole time. And mind you, I'm still playing basketball for my high school, still playing in different rec leagues and all that, but I never missed anything that was going on with you because I wanted you to see no matter what you chose, the family was going to support you. It wasn't about what we wanted you to do. We just wanted you to be active and into something. And then I think that kind of was like kind of that first kind of breaking the mold of saying, all I got to do is ask and I'll be supported and taking away that pressure of someone saying they wanted you to go in this direction. Um, we of course we had our passion for basketball, and we saw you were going to have some height on you. We wanted to develop that, but that has nothing to do with us stepping into what you may have been passionate about. So it started there, and then it just became a habit of me trying to show you that the only person that had limits was you. And you weren't very, you had, I don't want to use the word shy. I want to say more of, you were a much more reserved person. You can go into any environment, you could be spoken to and speak to. You didn't shy away from conversation, but you weren't a conversation starter. You weren't a active person who's going to walk in a room and like change the dynamic of the room. You weren't that guy. You were more of an observer. And that style wasn't gonna be for a 6'7", 6'8" guy. That wasn't gonna be the comforting way to communicate with anyone, especially girls, right? And using, I mean, I know you remember the girl, the pulling over to the gas stations and me teaching you what to say and all that kind of stuff. But it was bigger than that. It was, I didn't want you to not have practice in communicating when something that really meant to you came up and it would be the first time. Now you're stumbling over your words. You can't say what you want to say. You miss an interview opportunity. You miss a job opportunity. You miss a opportunity for someone to point their finger and say, hey, maybe we should try this guy. Whether that was in a relationship, whether that was in a career, whether that was in a boardroom, whatever that may be, I didn't want your mindset to be to hush yourself when you had something to say.
Listen, and that's crazy because I'm thinking now that was so much more foresight than I could ever imagine, especially about at that time. Because
Right.
when you think about the things like you saying you had a conversation with me about it, I don't remember that conversation at all. But I was
Mhm.
young, I was a kid, but like the idea that I was trying to express myself, I can only remember instances where we're doing something, but the words that came out, the conversations that I were had, you are remembering them and you're telling me these things, and I'm like, that's really good. Like that's a different level of being a brother, and also you using that and saying, all right, now I see what he wants to do, but this is what I can do to help him.
Well, the reason it's so much easier to remember is because that's what was done to me. It's kind of like, and you know, we reference movies a lot. It's kind of like the whole Karate Kid movie thing, right? You know, the way we were being taught, the way I was being taught by my uncles, mainly, you know, my Uncle Sammy, the way I was being taught was such a chess piece. Everything he did was such a chess piece. It had much bigger purpose from the thing he was teaching me in that moment. It was far beyond that. There were life lessons. You know, for instance, the you know talking to girls thing. It was bigger than that. The first thing was why fear something that's not going to change your position. In other words, if you don't say anything, or if you do say anything, either way, if she says no, what do you lose?
He's not,
So why would you fear something that you're not going to lose anything if you try? You're going to be at least right back where you started, right? So it was just such a training of the mind, and that spilled over into basketball. It spilled over into my classroom. It spilled over into my communication. It spilled over into arguments, right? Like I'm not going to just stand by and listen to someone say something that's completely wrong, why it's a terrible perspective when I know that I can give a better one. And I could sit and I'm just going to sit there and listen because I'm afraid of what might happen if I say anything, right? So it was much bigger than that. So the reason I'm able to remember those things because I felt like I am now the one in a position to do that for you, what was done for me. So it's easy for me to remember it because it's literally a filter of information. And I'm like, man, what was taught to me is generational because here I am able to show it to my brother. Now you're able to teach that mindset to, you know, people in your life. So yeah, it's easy to remember because, you know, one, I had 9 years on you. So you were much younger, right? So I'm in a position where my memory, I'm remembering things differently than maybe the way that you were experiencing them, you know? So, um, but yeah, all of those things are wrapped into one, but were a big part of me help trying to mold your mindset. Now, also where I was in life, I was much more energetic. I was much more cocky in how I did things. I was much more competitive. I was a terrible winner. Everybody laughs when I say that. Don't let me be winning around you. I'm gonna hurt your feelings.
I know that firsthand.
Yeah,
Several instances
yeah.
that trauma.
I mean, and I was, and it didn't matter who you were. I mean, if we brought my cousin on here, Latoya, you know, her and I were 4 years apart. So, you know, when she just started walking, you know, I was like 5 years old. So I was a part of, you know, I remember teaching her how to walk, walking her around the living room, you know, holding her hands until she could walk on her own. But as we grew older, we used to go to my aunt's house in Richmond. And, you know, I was a protector then. Like, you know, I'm walking around with my little cousin, so I got to keep my eye on her, the whole nine, you know, wherever we were. And my aunt, you know, would always love to play board games. And one of her favorite board games that all of us would play was Monopoly. And I was pretty good at the concepts of Monopoly.
Yeah,
But man, I would have her crying because I'm taking her I had no cut cards. I wanted your money, I wanted your property, I wanted it
yeah.
all.
Run it up.
And it was I would run it up and I would have the board so on lockdown. Like it was very rare, very few places you could land and not owe me some money. And I would torment her. And if they talk about it today, they don't want I don't think we've ever played Monopoly since.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, so and then I mean it was like that with Uno, spades, you name it. But it also the competitive spirit also drives a connection in a way that um, nobody understands. It really pushes you to want to be better even in the dark. You know that now. You understand what practice means. You understand how hard, how much work has to be put in the dark before anything comes to light.
Right. And
And then people see that how much work I had to put in,
right.
right? Like it makes me more a reputable source when someone puts in the same work to compete with me and they can't be they in their mind going how much work is he putting in If I put in all this work and I'm still not where he is, how much work did he have to put in? And it makes you just more reputable when you talk to them in specific arenas.
Yeah, I think that in certain aspects, dealing with certain people, that is a crippling thing because you, as being an athlete and being and knowing how much work it takes to put into certain things and how long it takes to get there,
Mm-hmm.
understanding that okay, well, if I'm dealing with somebody, and I'm kind of speaking in relationship terms because that's where I've experienced this problem the most, dealing with certain things and people saying, well, I'll do it when I have this thing that solidifies it. It's like, no, there's a level of work that needs to go in for you to be able to have the mindset to wrap your head around it. You haven't even started that process because you're saying you're going to start on it after you get something. It's like, no, you need to be prepared when you get there with
Yeah.
at least some experience of what the end goal is. Because if you don't, you're starting at day one on day one, and you don't want
It's, I remember something that was taught to me. What you're saying was taught to me in action by my uncles and people in my life. But someone was able to put it into words when I started working in sales. And this guy literally looked at me and said, it's better to be prepared and not have an opportunity than to have an opportunity and not be prepared. And so the work you put in, don't be mad because the opportunity is not there. You keep putting in the work
to.
because when the opportunity does come up, you don't want to be trying to prepare for an opportunity. Like I knew I had a lot of friends that just were just trying to get the job to be where they wanted to be. And they were like, I'll figure it out once I get it. Well, you're going to mess around and lose the job trying to get the on the job training and trying to get all the trainings because now you're making this, making you got this job now. And now, no, be prepared. Be prepared to lead people even before you're a leader. And that's literally what my life has been, being the forefront leader in basketball and relationships and and job opportunities so that when I am put in a position to lead, it's not foreign to me. It doesn't make me uncomfortable. It does. I can stand in front of a room and direct a group of people. I can use other people's expertise and respect their craft and what they're good at and not feel threatened because they're good in that area and are more knowledgeable, and they still respect me as a leader. I had to learn that the hard way, being in arenas and spaces with, you know, it takes multiple people to run a company. The CEO is not always, that's why he hires people. He's not an accountant. He may not be, work in the legal department. He may not be the person that does the best sales. I mean, he does know his product and how to move it, but he also has other areas that he has expertise in. So I try to be a brother in the same way. Take the expertise, put you in front of people that were better than me in certain areas. Well, that's one reason why I didn't want to coach you too long when
Right.
it came to basketball, right? And that's why another reason my dad didn't want to coach you too long. He wanted you to have experiences of different coaches. We didn't always have the best people around us to coach you. We were hard on coaches,
Ooh,
but
that's
we,
really hard.
but at the same time, you got a different experience. You are a person now that can see the quality level of a good coach.
Yeah, yeah,
But you had some at home. You had more tough rides home than I did. After a game, you had mom and dad to ride home with. I mean, me, it was either mom or I rode my bike home, so I didn't always have someone in my ear about what I did or didn't do. I mean, mom was enough, but um, she was also where I got a lot of my competitive spirit from. So, yeah, so a lot of this stuff shape and mold how I dealt with you, even, to when you moved out to California, one of the first things I told you was what? Like, don't come back here.
yeah,
And when people hear me say that, like, why would you say that to your brother? It was a mindset. You're going to struggle. You are going to have challenges. You are going to go through things no matter where you're laying your head. But if you have a mindset that you're going to run, then whatever God has for you in that move, you're not going to get. It's going to be hard. And it's not stopped being hard. It hasn't. I mean, it's been a challenge, but you've been able to manage it in a much more different way than you did 5 years ago.
100%, 100%. I mean, even the idea of having a child, that's a leap to the next level because I mean, I kept myself in a position where I didn't have a kid until later.
Mhm.
And granted, I've had these little experiences with dealing with kids and taking over babysitting with opportunity things for mom because people have brought their kid because they needed help,
Uh,
whatever. So those little things helped me. You dropping KJ off and
yeah,
doing what you got to do to take care of business. And I'm watching KJ, and he's this little kid just climbing around my apartment with it. So you put me, I was put in a position to do the things for myself to get me to the level of being able to watch a child or have a child, and then
yeah.
that next level of
And
life.
even that process was fun to go through. I hate to use the word fun, but I remember being that nervous guy with a child on the way and like thinking the world for me end was gonna end and oh my God, I'm not gonna be able to do this and that. I gotta worry about taking care of this little one. I don't know what I'm doing. And I just kept telling you, all of that's going the moment that little one is here, all of this worry, all of this planning, all of this, it's all gonna fade.
Yeah,
It's
man.
gonna fade. Like you're gonna look back and be like, I was stressed for nothing.
Well, stress for nothing is vague, but
The
like in
what
the
you were what you said when I say stress for nothing, I'm not saying the stress of raising a child and all. I'm saying the specifics of what you were stressing at that time,
yeah, yeah,
like the fear of another person that you're going to be responsible for being on this earth. That fear goes away because what happens is the love for that child. You now know I will do any and everything for this little one.
mhm,
That fear of me failing is gone. Now, executing the things going on, that still happens, right? You still have to make sure, okay, I put her in the best position to go to the right schools and this, that, and the third. But that fear you had of someone coming that you had no idea how to plan for, that went away immediately. I said, I talked to you that day she was here. And I was like, now how you feel? He was like, I'm good. I said, all the way up until all the way up until you that baby get here, your butthole gonna be this tight. But you gonna
hey,
relax the butt cheeks the moment you hold that little one. And this but that's a lesson in a lot of things in life. Like I don't care what you're going through or what you're dealing with. You know, we've gone through a lot as a family, was gone through a lot individually, and all the way through it, you're like this. And then when God shows you the other side of what you've been worrying about, you go, huh, I can handle this.
yeah, yeah,
God was like, I never was going to put you in that position, but what I couldn't have you do is quit.
right.
And that's one thing I refuse to let you do, regardless of what choices you made and where they led you to, was to have a quitting spirit. So
You
if
and
that means I had to break you down a few times to rebuild you,
oh God,
yeah.
I mean, and I
Sometimes it was fun as a brother to do, sometimes it wasn't.
because you gotta tell the story. Like you gotta go NBA Jam. Let's get into it. This is like yes,
Uh-huh.
yes, this
All
podcast.
right. So
Yes, yes,
so
this
one
podcast.
of the biggest breakdown things I had to do to you, and it was done to me. So I won't sit here and act like I took all the joy in creating this. All big brothers do it, but I went through it with my mom.
Right.
But we had this is back we had graduated from playing Nintendo to our Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
Nintendo.
Which I broke one
We
time.
had a Super Nintendo in our basement, and we had this couch with this big TV set on. You know, we had it was still a little basement, but we had moved all our game systems down there because mom didn't want us upstairs with them. So okay, so now we got this basement. We got this game called NBA Jams,
Hmm?
and we played it all the time. And we played it so much that I got very good at it. I understood the algorithm of the game. I could play the game with no problem. And you would play it with me. And of course, you know, I'd beat you pretty bad. But then I had gotten really heavy until I want to say this was maybe in my junior year in high school. It was even my sophomore year, and I was playing a lot of basketball, so I wasn't around to play the game with you a lot.
Right.
And when I would get home from practice, you know, I went to school, I had practice, and then sometimes I'd have a job or whatever, and I get home and be late. And if you were up, you want to play, and I'd put you off for gosh, a long time, weeks, maybe even months. I kept putting you off, but you were practicing. Every time you were playing, and sometimes I'd come home and I'd hear you in the game in the other room, and you'd be like, "Come on, play with me," and I'm like, "Nah, maybe tomorrow or whatever." And I just kept doing that to you, and I got to a point where I felt bad. I'm like, "Man, you know, my little brother keeps asking me to play this game with him. Let me play." So you had asked me one night, and you know, we sat and we were playing, and I could really tell. I was like, "Oh, he's really been practicing. He's really." I mean, all the little kid nuances were gone. Like you have really been playing the game. I could tell you were playing on different modes and playing. And I'm like, okay. Now, mind you, we got this small little couch. We're sitting right beside each other. We're playing. I mean, we're shoulder to shoulder playing this game. I'm like, you've been practicing, it's a close little game. I take a lead, you take a lead. But I mean, I see you all the way in it. And then finally, I just kick it into another gear and I start kicking your behind. But I don't just kick your behind. I'm taunting you. So I'm like literally whispering in your ear, you ain't been practicing. You been practicing. And I'm just giving it to you. I mean, I'm giving it to you hard. And I'm pushing you. And I could see in your face that whatever you had been doing to practice, it wasn't working. And you were losing your composure. And I just kept pushing and I never stopped. And I mean, I even felt the point that I could have stopped and I just kept going. Now I'm killing you. I'm beating you so bad it don't look like you practice at all. I'm wearing you out. And you got so upset. You got mad. This is a level of piss I ain't seen in a long time. But mind you, you're probably like maybe 10 years old, maybe. And you jumped up and you grabbed. Now, mind you, we had this surge protector that plugged into the wall, and all the cords were plugged into it. So it's like 6 cords coming out of this big surge protector. Not a long strip, it was like a square one. You reached up and you took your hand, you grabbed all the cords you could get your hands wrapped around. TV, game, VCR, you name it. If it was plugged in and you snatched all of it out the wall, everything went blank. And you ran upstairs crying. And I'm laying on the couch cracking. I mean, I haven't laughed that hard in so long. I'm cracking up, but like I have no remorse of what I just did.
Oh my goodness.
Cracking up, and you upstairs. I can hear you on the middle level, sitting on the couch with crying. I mean, boohoo crying like I had just punched you in your chest or something, crying. Now,
That's what
mom,
it felt
all the way on the next level, she can hear you crying, so she come flying downstairs because she's trying to figure out why you're crying so hysterically, like hyperventilating, crying. And it's even worse because now I'm at the bottom of the stairs. I was getting ready to come upstairs, but I can hear her up there talking to you, and I'm like, it's not safe to go up there now because he getting ready to tell her what I just did to him. So I'm standing at the bottom of the steps, and I'm giggling, but I'm not laughing hard enough for her to hear me.
right.
And I hear her asking Brandon, what's wrong? Brandon, tell me what's wrong. And you can't get your words together because you're so angry. And you started to go, he won't let me win the game. And I crack up loud and laughing even louder. She come flying down the stairs like she's ready to beat the brakes off of me. All of my fists. Why would you do that boy like that? Why would you push him like that? And I'm looking at her like, you have got to be kidding me.
Oh,
Because this is the woman who did the same thing to me. And
oh,
I'm looking at her and she's going off. I mean, she's going off. And I finally say, are you serious? And she's looking at me like, I said, this coming from you. From you. Are you serious? And her whole face changed with this half a smile, like, yeah, I got a lot of nerve to come jump on you the way I used to do you. My mother used to take me to the basketball court and do the same thing. My mother, now mind you, I was younger than you. I don't even think I was in the first or second grade yet.
okay.
But she knew I loved playing basketball. She'd take me to the basketball court. And mind you, my mother used to play. So we playing and she's shooting. I could not get the ball from her. And I want the ball as a kid. I want the ball. Could not get the ball from her to save my life. She hit me with her butt and pushing me out the way. I mean, and I got so angry that I just went and sat on the pole under the game, under the rim, and folded my arms like I just don't want to play no more. And my mother walked over to me, put the ball in her arm, and whispered to me. She says, "So you gonna go back to school and tell everybody that your mother beat you in basketball?" Man, that put a fire in me that lasted for 20 years.
Oh my
It
goodness.
lit me up. I said, "Oh no, I can't go back to school and tell everybody my mom beat me in basketball." And
That,
from that point on, the level of passion I played that game with was to destroy. I didn't have another mode. I didn't have another switch. There was no compassion. There was no gamesmanship. There was no none of that. It was you step in between these lines with me. I am going to destroy you. You
you,
are
yes.
not gonna go anywhere and think that you belonged on the court with me.
Oh,
That is how I played the game. So my competitive spirit jumped 20-fold. So I didn't know how to teach you any other way but to destroy you.
Yeah.
And I did that when her coming downstairs jumping in my face. I was like, you have got to be kidding me.
Uh,
I know you not talking. I mean, no game, no matter what game we played, you played to destroy. She
uh-huh.
does KJ the same way.
Well,
There's a new game we play now, Rummy Cube.
uh-huh.
Whatever. Oh my God, they are now keeping record of how many times they destroyed one another. KJ then is like, oh nah. I think he's 13 now. He was probably about 8, and I took him over there, dropped him off. So mom, I'll be back, or whatever. And KJ told my mom that she wanted to go play basketball. So she took him on out to the basketball court, and they out there playing. I come back in the house. My son got dumbbells, doing curls, doing press ups, and all this kind of stuff. And she's standing there with her hands on her hips, looking at him. What the hell's going on? He ain't strong enough. I'm like, what? He's 8, mom. He got to get his strength up. I'm like, mom, he's 8. He ain't getting the ball up to the rim the way I like it. He's got to get higher, so he
Huh?
got to get stronger. Had him in it,
That's my
and I
uncle.
looked at him and I said, I told you when you came over here what was gonna happen. I told you. He like, Nana, crazy. I said,
That's hilarious.
you went from playing basketball to now you in a full workout session in the
Yep.
house.
Yep.
But that was what we grew up with.
Mhm.
But it was one of those things that if you tell us you want to do something, don't think we're not going to. Not only are we going to support you, but we're going to push you.
Yeah, man.
Gonna push you, but not everybody's used to that, so it can come
No,
off the
it's
wrong way to some people.
yeah.
It could come off as too much for other people that ain't ready for it.
Yep.
But we don't have a middle ground. It's either you said you want to do it. It's just like we're Star Wars fans. It's like you either do or do not. There is no try.
Right. Yep.
Either you're gonna do it or you're not. And I did KJ the other day. He's like, I'm gonna go try out for the team. I was like, I know they call it tryouts, but you're either gonna make the team or you not.
Yep.
Ain't no try. You're gonna go out there and give your best. You make it or you don't. It is what it is. When you don't make it, that's just few. That's a log on the fire.
Yeah, I think that's hurt me in certain areas when it comes to just dating women, but it's also
Mm-hmm.
the thing that will uh, um, cut out the winners from the losers in my book, because if you're able to handle some of that, and I've learned to gauge how much I can give and how much I can push for certain people, because
Right.
I think at a point when in my life when I was doing it at a level where I just didn't have any control over it. I didn't know how
Yeah.
how much to push. If I okay, this person needs a 1, versus this other person needs an 8 level of what I'm doing.
Well, you got to remember, like a lot of, and I'm glad we're doing this because a lot of who we are is where we came from. If you compare it to where you came from, of being a person that didn't push people at all. Why? Because you were kind of reserved yourself.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So you go from someone that says, I don't even want to have nothing to say, I'd rather just watch, to saying I have the power to say something and I know I have value. It's hard to try to just go that up in notches. You go from one to the other. It's almost like that first time that I told you to go talk to a girl. You went from not talking to a girl at all ever to me pushing you to do it and being successful the first couple of times. It's a drug now.
Yeah.
There is no middle ground. There is no gauge. It's either I'm going to do it or I'm not. So it's hard to now take those skill sets and say, let me polish them for my audience.
Right.
Let me polish that for my girlfriend versus my doctor and versus my, boss versus my child versus a team or versus I'm in a boardroom and everybody's looking for an answer and I have one. It's hard to do. And I had it for a lot while. I had it naturally. I just had to polish it from what I said because I could say stuff and didn't care if I didn't hurt your feelings or not. That was my issue. My issue wasn't being afraid to talk because I was a talker all my life. My issue was being afraid to hurt someone. Not hurting someone's feelings, not caring how you felt about what I said. I had to learn how to be more compassionate about certain things, or learning how to not only beat people up, but learn how to build them up too.
Right.
And I learned that more from dad, my stepfather, your dad. I learned that more from him. We went to a basketball tournament down in South Hill, and we were playing, we were having a good game, and I played with him, and then he left, and then I was playing on the side with this other kid, and he was talking so much trash, and I was destroying him. I gave it right back to him. And then when we got back, I had a tournament and I played in a game and I was still talking trash. So when we got home, he picked me up. He brought me home. He said, Brian, it was kind of afternoon. It was starting to get dark. He said, Brian, go get your ball. We're going to go to the court for a little bit. Now, mind you, I've never played ball with him. So I'm like this giddy little kid now. I'm like, ha, you want to go to my court? Come on out back. So we go out onto the playground and we playing. And we're shooting around, and I'm like, dang, Dad can shoot. We got a little jump shot on him. Pops can shoot. And
Mhm.
I'm shooting with him, and I'm shot for shot with him at one point. But then there was a point where I could see that he's a much better shooter and at a different range than me.
Right,
Then he says something to me that made me just weak and giddy as a child. Like I could not stop laughing because I just did not believe this was happening.
right,
He said, let's play one on one. And to me, that would be like Michael Jordan asking you to play one on one.
right.
Internally, you would be like freezing, like, what? You want to play one on one with me on my court? Yeah, let's play a little one on one. Let's just, shoot it up. And I tell you, I'm probably 14 years old, feeling myself, 13, 14. I'm probably right around that eighth, ninth grade time frame where I'm really coming into my own as being a good ball player in our area. And he destroyed me. I'm telling you,
Ah,
with ease. It was like being out there with a college level senior playing a seventh grader. How different the strength, the speed of how he was moving and getting his shot up. Now, mind you, he wasn't just pushing me around from size. It's not like he was just taking advantage of the size. He
right.
was just straight jump shots,
Wow.
straight jump shot from the free throw line, from the corner, from wherever. And when I tell you the trash talking was on elite level, and it's getting dark. I mean, he was saying, he old school. He was saying stupid stuff like, you know what? I used to stay up all night just trying to miss a shot like this. And I just can't do it. And he would take a jump shot and knock it down like, see, I can't miss. Like I'm trying to miss. I'm really trying to miss. And I told him, I was like, don't miss. Don't miss. He missed one shot. And I think, man, at this point, he had probably hit it's like 8-0. He already hit me like 8-0. So I probably got to about 8-5. Now, mind you, I got to get around him because, he's much bigger. He could leap, whatever. And so I'm getting around him. I'm getting but the next time I missed, I ain't see the ball no more. It was over. He scored. But his lesson in that when we were walking back through the woods going back home was he was like, look, you're a great ball player and you're going to be even better as you get stronger and older. He said, but what I want you to get rid of is feeling like you have to humiliate your opponent. You can play the game, you can be competitive, you can be fiery, but you don't have to destroy people. You don't have, it's not necessary. That's not a part of the game that you need to be able to play well.
Right,
And because, you never know down the line, some of these guys might be your teammates.
right.
You never know. And it's funny he said that because that ended up happening. Well, that's another story. But yeah, he was trying to show me that if you're good, you're good, but you don't have to be a jerk all the time. So I have my moments where I be a jerk and
Yeah,
some.
we gauge it now. We
It's
see
more fun when I'm being a jerk in the ring.
it is. It really is.
But
I think it,
I tailored it a little bit
it
after
also
after that whooping. I tailored it a little bit.
I also think that it translates because even for me, it's in our conversations, it's in how we operate with other people, and I had to learn that I know I can be annoying. It's no need to do it all the time. It's no need to push that to that level all the time because then you start losing people that you would thought were friends. They like, bro, you are a lot when it comes to this particular area. So I think I had a friend who was she was a friend of somebody who I was either talking to or like she liked me. And I would pick with her, not like really bad, but I would pick with her. But I realized she was a lot more sensitive with it than most. And there was a period of time where she went to, and I'm this is when I'm learning that I need to like gauge it, but I'm testing her at this point. And I'm messing with her, teasing her, picking with her because she was a lot shorter than I was. And I'm just picking with her. But she did this thing where she was like, you know what? I'm sick of talking to you. I'm sick of just getting mad at me, upset. And I'm like, she's like, don't talk to me. And I'm like, don't talk to you? Like, are you serious? And she was like, yeah, I can't. I was like, all right, well, I'll leave you alone. I left, and I literally just left her alone. But she would still come around because it was her friend who liked me, and we would like hang out and all those things in college. And eventually she saw that I was literally giving her what she wanted, but she didn't necessarily not want my friendship. She just didn't want me messing with her the way I was messing with her. And eventually she was like, okay, listen, I just didn't like how you would come in at me and you were always teasing and you kind of went a little bit further than I wasn't doing anything extreme. I was just like picking with her because
Yeah.
I figured that was our relationship and that's how we because we were friends in that way. But she was just like that. That was every day I just was going through something and I didn't, and you were picking with me and I was just not ready for it. And but I do enjoy your company. You're cool people. You're great people. You're great to my friend. And I kind of want to be friends with you. Okay, cool. Then we can do that. I can gauge it. I will leave you alone for the most part, but don't be upset if I pick with you because I enjoy your company and I'm doing it because that's just kind of a rapport that we have.
I'm gonna, yeah, I'm gonna tell you how somebody put it to me one day. You go to a swimming pool or you go to the ocean, you get in the water, and water is such a soft substance, right? You can pour it in your hand and run right through your hands. It is such a, you drink it, you need it, inert, nutritional, right? It just has so many good purposes. But if you can look at what it can do to a rock over time,
Yeah.
if you can look at what it does to Earth over time, how the how what it can do to things with enough force, what it can do to just simply eroding away. And they said you can be soft like water, but you can also erode at people with little things over time.
Yep.
And just over time, you're just doing something, and more of them is chipping away. You don't even know it because you're doing it in such a soft way that they feel like they can't say anything to you. But a lot of you're stripping more and more of them away by just picking at them, or just talking about their neck, what they're not good at, or putting them down, or any of those little things. You may be joking, but there's got to be a level of balance to it because if you don't also have the same energy with that person, I'm uplifting them, telling them what they're good at, and telling them, yeah, I appreciate you for this, that, and the third. If you don't have that balance in those things, really all you're doing is eating away at a person over time. And you're thinking it's funny, but if that's the only basis of your relationship, is telling them what they're not good at or picking them at what their shortcomings are and all that kind of stuff, it eats at people,
It does. It
even
does.
when you don't mean it to do so.
Yep, it does. It does. And I've gained a lot of experience with that and learning how to operate because in general you have to learn that when you're dating. You have to know how much you can give to say to somebody before they get to their breaking point. Because if you don't, then you're hurting someone who you actually care about, and by the time you realize you've hurt them, there's no turning back about them changing their mind about you.
Yeah, and this conversation we're having now, about just being a brother, like part of part of this for me was when I learned how powerful having a circle is, right? And not people always look at just having a circle of friends, but there's got to be a purpose for each person, right? There's got to be someone or people that you look up to, people that you strive to do the things that they do, you strive to be better, you strive to grow because of what you see in them accomplish and how they're pushing themselves and how they bring you along. Someone you kind of look up to, whatever, and in whatever arenas that may be. And then there's your peers, there's people on your side that no matter what they've accomplished, you have accomplished, or they haven't accomplished, when you walk into the room with these people on your side, they don't care about your title, they don't care about where you've been, what you did, they just love you for who you are, and it is what it is. Those are my boys I grew up with, like those people there. And then you have people who are under you, right? And those are people who are looking up to you. So all of these people, the same way you looked up to someone, they're looking up to you in that way. They're maybe a little further behind in life or in their accomplishments or where stage of where they are in their life, and they're looking up to you. If you look at that type of circle, your peers, someone you're looking up to, and someone that's looking up to you, it holds you in the center of being accountable. You're accountable all the time because you kind of don't want to say or do something that would disappoint someone who's looking up to you. You don't want to be disappointing to the person you're looking up to where they don't want you around. You don't want to be disappointing to your peers. All of these things keep you balanced, and they also encourage you in different ways. Your peers are going to encourage you in different ways. The person that's looking up to you is going to be encouraging you in different ways that you're on the right path because they can see the results in your change. The person you're looking up to, you're growing closer to them. Like it's all growth having a circle. So I'm very conscious of when I feel like I'm a part of someone else's circle,
Yeah.
right? Or if they're a part of mine, whatever. These circles are going to interlap. But at the same time, it's important to me that I don't say or do anything to destroy intentionally destroy someone or hold them back, or I always pray sometimes at night that the things that I say and do are acceptable to Him, because I don't want to be the reason or the part of any of His children going the wrong way. I ask for forgiveness for that every night. God, if I said or did or influenced someone in a way that was not pleasing to You or is not in the direction that You have for their life, put me in a position to, one, correct it, and two, forgive me for doing it.
Yeah.
Because I don't ever want to harm anybody. You know.
I think, and I mean, even to that point, I think there's a level of we're losing that, or it's changing, and I say that because you're saying this, and you said all of that in a positive manner. I want to make sure that person is doing correct and doing the right thing, and I'm doing the right thing and correct thing, so that they can look up to me and do the right thing. Well, I think social media is doing a thing where it's trying to normalize things that aren't so positive, and then those people are clicking up together and then passing that down to the next generation. And I think it's a negative of pushing this new narrative of it's a trend. It's we listen and we don't judge. I know maybe you've seen a few of them, but
I have.
think they are I think it's the worst trend that you could ever think of, because it's not that they're saying things that they have done that are on the realm of being positive and it turned out bad. I think it's just things that they've done are bad and they're just putting it out there, and they are so ridiculously bad. It's like you should even say this out loud, because that, in some cases, that's illegal. You can go to jail for the thing that you're saying you want not to
Yeah.
be judged over. No, you need to be judged over that, because that trickles into your character and who you are.
Yeah, I think it's just when I heard the trend, I tried not to look at it negatively, but it based on what eye you're looking at, it can be. And it all depends on what's being said too. But I mean, there are times where some people are just saying, I'm giving you the opportunity to say something, to come clean about something that you normally wouldn't say. That's how I looked at the trend. I normally wouldn't say this, but okay, I farted in your such and in your cereal and then fed it to you. Like what? What? Like okay, some of them are funny, some of them are like, yo, you tripping, or
Yes,
some stuff is like you should never tell anybody that. But
yes.
at the same time, it's just I think it's a trend for people to be able to say the most outrageous things, and I honestly think that social media has put people in a position to, for views, for likes, for all these things, to do the most outrageous, or their page is not getting looked at, right? So trends are the way to get, whether it's a dancing trend or this thing that you're talking about, whatever the trend is, it's a form of come look at me, come see me, come pay attention to the things that I'm willing to say and do publicly that I wouldn't have normally said or done. And then sometimes people are like it because they don't want to feel like they're the only ones that are doing something have done something crazy,
I mean,
and they want to feel like there are other people out there worse than them. It's
yeah, I mean,
just
and you get that aspect, but it's like you can't. You can want to know that people have done wild and crazy things, but there is some things that you should know for a fact you should have never done. Which is, I mean, granted, that's a level of context and into the level of what you're talking about. But like, I've heard some doozies, and I'm like, ooh, you should have like.
Oh yeah, I mean, just kind of getting back to it, like I just want to make sure that when I am out here saying and doing stuff,
You
no, I'm not perfect. No, I mean, some people may not even say I have the resume to say some of the things I'm saying or doing. Sometimes my failures are my biggest teachers, and why I'm able to steer someone away from what I did or way I was thinking when I did it. Um, but I just want to make sure that from a circle perspective that I'm doing right by everyone in my circle, or that is even looking to put me in theirs. Um, so
that's a great point, man. But listen, I think we've had a great talk. We have talked about a few things that have made you who you were, that have been passed down to me. Like, you are my Yoda. I can't even remember his name now. But what's his
the Obi-Wan.
Obi-Wan turn, and then Obi-Wan turns into and goes down and turns Anakin into his Darth Vader phase. So between you and I, we've had these instances where you are my Yoda and I'm the Obi-Wan. And then there are instances where you are my Obi-Wan and I am the Darth Vader version of myself.
Yeah.
Because of how you've operated in your life and how you have um, strive to be a better person for yourself, you also strive to make that change happen for me 8 years earlier than it should have.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the biggest positive because there are ways you think now that was the way I thought when I was 20, 25, 30. And now at 40, in my 40s, I go, maybe, maybe I need to figure out how to get him to tailor that. But you've had 10 years of experience of doing it that way now. And it's like, man, that might not have been, that worked for me then. That worked for you then. But as I evolve, I'm trying to get you to evolve. And I think that this is just raising children in general. Like you teach them the best you can, but it's hard to teach them from all of the phases of your life. What I taught you in my 20s when you were coming up was what you needed at that time, but it may have not been what should be a part of your DNA permanently. It may have just been what you needed to come out of your shell, right? Now you're out of your shell. Now I need to teach you what I learned in my 30s to manage what you're doing in your 20s. And now in my 40s, I've already evolved my mindset of where you are in life, how to do that better. But you could be so stubborn in the way like, nah, you got this, you got all your armor on. I'm like, okay, you can put some of your armor down and pick up some softer things, but you ain't even ready for that night because you got the energy to do it with the armor.
Right.
And it's like, oh, how do I turn this warrior into a philosopher and to see, get him to see the philosophy side of things before he dies in battle. You know what I mean? So it's evolving. It's constantly evolving. But that's my gift of being a brother. That's my gift of being someone that is becoming an elder in the family.
Mhm.
That is the gift that God gave me to be able to communicate through analogies and experience and all of these things to help my generation and the generation behind me evolve so that it can survive in whatever this world's going to become.
Well, listen, like that's a great lesson, and I'm glad. I'm hoping someone can take something from this, and it could transfer in our lives so that they can do the next thing in their lives going forward.
Indeed.
All right, so listen, we're gonna do this again soon because we have so many more things to talk about. We got to get this on video, and it was part of actually it's a little bit of part of what I wanted to do before because of the podcast. We were saying a conversation.
Yeah,
Well, we're gonna have more conversation, D.
absolutely.
All right, man. So this is another conversation with Brian Jackson, and this is my little conversation corner. You guys take care, and I'll see you next time.
Thanks for having me.